You walk into the Apple Store this September and the cheap iPhone is gone. Because for the first time in over a decade, Apple isn't launching a base iPhone 18. Instead, you get three Pro tier phones, the iPhone 18 Pro, the iPhone 18 Pro Max, and something Apple has never shipped before, a phone that folds. And there's a reason for all of this that has nothing to do with marketing. It's a global memory chip shortage so bad it's reportedly holding $1 billion of Apple's own processors hostage at the factory. I'll explain exactly how that's about to hit your wallet. So here's the actual lineup Apple is expected to announce on September 9th: the iPhone 18 Pro, the iPhone 18 Pro Max, and the iPhone Ultra, Apple's first foldable and its first phone north of $2,000. I've been tracking every leak on this for months. The Tata Electronics data breach, the drop test footage, the dummy units, all of it. And putting it together, there's a pattern most coverage is missing. This isn't just a new phone. It's Apple restructuring how it sells iPhones, probably for years. Let's start with the reason there's no cheap option this fall. Normally, Apple ships two families every fall, a base iPhone and a Pro line. Not this year. Multiple reports say the standard iPhone 18 and the iPhone Air 2 are being pushed into early next year, which means this September's lineup is Pro tier only: Pro, Pro Max, Ultra. Here's what that actually means for you. If you want any new iPhone this fall, your cheapest new option starts around $1,300. There's no $800 fallback. Apple's basically saying upgrade at the top or don't upgrade at all. And nobody's totally sure if that's a strategic bet or something Apple got forced into. Remember that number? Here it is. $1 billion. That's the estimated value of A20 Pro wafers reportedly sitting idle at TSMC right now because Apple's new chip packaging needs memory bonded directly onto the processor, and there isn't enough memory to go around. It's holding up final assembly at both Foxconn and BYD, which is kind of wild, honestly. Apple's biggest bottleneck this year isn't design, it's not software, it's literally not having enough RAM chips to finish building its own processor. And that shortage is a big part of why prices are going up and why launch day supply might be rough, no matter how early you order. Now let's talk about the phone in this lineup that's actually new, not refined, new, the iPhone Ultra. Apple's rumored to be building this with a book-style fold, a 5.4-inch display on the outside, a 7.8-inch screen on the inside. That inner screen is roughly iPad mini sized in your pocket. The design leans on the iPhone Air playbook, titanium edges, a slim profile, but the camera setup is where it gets interesting. Two rear cameras, main and ultra wide, plus two separate front cameras, one for each screen. And instead of Face ID, it's going back to Touch ID. Performance isn't stepping down either. Same A20 Pro chip, same vapor chamber, cooling as the Pro models. The real story is software. iOS 27 is reportedly built for this thing specifically, with side-by-side multitasking and layouts that adjust automatically the moment you unfold it. This is Apple's $2,000 experiment, and it's going to tell us a lot about whether people actually want to fold their phone in half. On the Pro and Pro Max, the design story is familiar, with a few real changes. Same aluminum frame, same triangular camera arrangement. But Apple's reportedly reworking how it refines that aluminum using a lower temperature process specifically to stop the kind of color fading that hit some Cosmic Orange 17 Pro units. The camera bump is growing to about 2 millimeters thicker, 3% larger overall, and leaks point to the Pro Max pushing past 240 grams, which would make it the heaviest iPhone Apple has ever shipped. Color-wise, the headline is dark cherry, a deep burgundy replacing earlier rumors of brown and purple. Light blue, dark gray, and silver round out the lineup. No black option this year, apparently, though dark gray gets close in low light. And then there's the dynamic island. Leaker Ice Universe says it's shrinking by almost half, from just under 21 millimeters wide down to about 13 and a half. Not everyone agrees. Digital chat station thinks it stays the exact same size until under display Face ID actually arrives, which isn't happening this year. Either way, smaller notch or not, this is still visually the most iterative looking iPhone Apple's made in years. The real upgrade is somewhere else. But here's the upgrade I actually care about: variable aperture. This is the feature multiple supply chain sources keep independently confirming, including analyst Jeff Pugh. Reports say component makers Sunny Optical and Luxshare are already producing the actuators for it. A variable aperture physically changes how much light hits the sensor. Wide open in low light for better night shots, narrower in daylight for more depth of field control. That's not a spec sheet gimmick. That's DSLR level control coming to a phone camera. A teleconverter is reportedly along for the ride too, for real optical zoom gains. Even the camera control button is getting reworked, moving to a pressure-sensitive module instead of the current capacitive plus pressure setup. Cheaper to build, reportedly just as responsive. Under the hood, the A20 Pro is reportedly Apple's first 2 nanometer chip, up to 15% faster, 30% more power efficient. Battery-wise, the Pro Max is the real winner. Leaks point to somewhere between 5,200 and 5,400 milliamp hours, call it a 6 to 8% jump over last year. The regular Pro gets a smaller bump, mostly because the US version drops the physical SIM tray entirely to free up space. And the modem, this is the part that quietly matters most. Apple's own C2 modem was rumored to be paired with a Qualcomm chip for US models. But Qualcomm's own CEO recently told investors Apple's business with them is coming in under 20% for this launch, which strongly suggests the C2 is going in everywhere, every market, every model. That's the modem behind satellite 5G fallback and a privacy feature that limits how much location data your carrier can actually pull from your phone. So put all of this together and here's where I land. Apple's expected to announce all three phones on September 9th, with pre-orders shifting to that Saturday instead of the usual Friday, because that Friday lands on the 25th anniversary of 9/11. It's also the first keynote for Apple's new CEO, John Ternus, which alone makes this a bigger moment than a normal iPhone launch. On price, Tim Cook's already told investors a hike is coming, he just won't say how much. Estimates range from $50 all the way to $300. Realistically, I'd bet on the iPhone 18 Pro landing closer to $1,250 than the higher numbers being thrown around, but we'll know for sure in a few weeks. Here's my actual take. If you're on an iPhone 15 or older, this is a real upgrade. New chip, real camera improvement, meaningfully better battery, go for it. If you're already on a 16 Pro or 17 Pro Max, this is a much harder sell. You're paying up to $300 more for a phone that on the outside looks almost identical to the one already in your pocket. And if you're considering the iPhone Ultra, you're not really buying a phone. You're buying into a bet that folding phones are where this is all headed. I think that bet pays off eventually. I'm just not sure it pays off this generation. Which one are you actually holding out for, the Pro Max or the Fold? Let me know down there, because based on the comments, I've already got a good idea what I'm covering next.